forward, please. We have a guest to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Chairman. Today's honored veteran is Patty Bergen Bedard. Patty was born in Rochester and graduated from Brighton Central High School. She attended the University of Notre Dame. Patty was a commissioned officer in the United States Army from October 1986 until her honorable discharge in April of 1990. First Lieutenant Bedard was a combat engineer and has served tours of duty stateside at Fort Benning, Georgia, Fort Belvoir, Virginia, and deployed to Costa Rica on a bridge building mission, as well as provided disaster relief during Hurricane Hugo. She is decorated with the Army Commendation Medal, Army Achievement Medal, Army Service Ribbon, Parachutist Badge, and Nuclear, Biological, and Chemical Defense Warfare Officer. Upon completion of her active duty military service, Patty was employed for the City of Rochester Water Bureau as a civil engineer and is the current manager of the Hemlock Water Plant. Patty resides on the west side of Geneseo Lake in a home her parents purchased in 1963, where she enjoyed her summers as a child. She has owned this home since 1997. She's married with 2 children, 2 stepchildren, and 2 grandchildren, with 1 more on the way. She currently holds the position of president of the Geneseo Lake Association, and she has also served as a boat captain for the Veterans Pontoon Platoon for the Livingston County Outdoor RX program. Patty, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Patty, for your service in the United States Army, the board is pleased to present you with the certificate of appreciation. Thank you.
We have 2 sets of meeting minutes for your consideration this afternoon. The first being our last regular meeting, October 27th. Does anyone have any changes to bring forward at this time? Hearing none, I look for a motion in a second, please.
Move Schuster. Second Lester.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? They're carried. Next, we had our special meeting November 2nd. Does anyone have any changes to bring forward in those draft minutes at this time? Hearing none, I'd look for a motion in a second, please.
Lester.
Second, Walker.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. We have 3 public hearings scheduled for this afternoon. I'd like to ask Heather from the Planning Department to please come up and introduce the first 2 hearings at this time.
Thank you, Chairman. There are 2 public hearings today. The first is for additions to existing agricultural districts, and the second is the renewal of Ag District Number 2. As you may be aware, for the 303B public hearing opening, effective in 2004, the New York State Ag and Markets Law was amended with Section 303B, which allows parcels to be included into agricultural districts on an annual basis. The County Board of Supervisors designated the month of September as the 30-day annual period for submission of petitions by landowners to join an existing ag district. This year, 3 petitions were included for inclusion in the district. They were filed with the Board of Supervisors. Pursuant to Ag and Markets Law, the County Ag and Farmland Protection Board conducted its review of the petitions on October 21st, 2021, determined that 7 parcels proposed for inclusion in the ag districts consist predominantly of viable agricultural land, and that inclusion of such land would serve the public interest by assisting in maintaining a viable ag industry within the agricultural districts. The parcels comprise approximately 415.58 acres located in the towns of York and Ashen. Today's public hearing is to allow public comment on the consideration of these petitions, to modify County Ag Districts number 1 and number 3, and to comment on the recommendation of the Ag and Farmland Protection Board. For the renewal of Ag District number 2, this is a public hearing for the 8-year renewal of Agricultural District number 2. That includes farmland in the towns of Avon, Canisius, Geneseo, Groveland, Lima, and Livonia. The acres of the current district is 68,784. The renewal and modification of this district would contain 65,854 acres in 914 parcels. So there's 2,930 less acres in the renewed district. Ag district inclusion is driven by property owner choice. Through conversations with farmers and town assessors, some farmers are not rejoining the district at this time because there is an uncertainty with how being in the district may impede options to develop commercial solar on those farms. However, if a farmer wishes to join Agricultural District number 2 in the future, the county allows farmers to petition to join the district every September through the 303B process that we just heard about. There are still 8 opportunities to join the Ag District between now and the next renewal. Please note there was a last-minute addition since the Public Services Committee meeting. It's the SoCo farm on York Street in the town of Lima. So an additional 32.9 acres is under consideration for Ag District number 2. It was not included in the materials at the Public Services Committee meeting, but it is on your desk in a single sheet of paper. A report titled "Added Since the 11/3/21 Public Service Committee Meeting" in your Ag District packet. The secret documentation, the modification renewal plan, will be revised to reflect this small addition. The acreage figures given earlier in this presentation, they do include that 32.9 acre parcel. Parcels in the district are upon request of the landowner. The planning department worked in partnership with Cornell Cooperative Extension of Livingston County on this renewal, and we were very pleased with the results of this partnership. Finally, the County Ag and Farmland Protection Board reviewed this modification at the meeting of October 21. The Ag Board recommends to the Board of Supervisors that the district be renewed to reflect this landowner interest in support for the agricultural interest of Livingston County.
Thank you, Heather. At this time, I'm going to declare these 2 public hearings open, and we are going to allow for comment on these 2 public hearings before Ian presents the budget and we open that budget hearing. So at this time, I'll ask any member of the public wishing to comment on either of the first 2 hearings that Heather introduced, please come forward to the podium and sign in and, state your position on either of those 2 hearings. I'll ask at this time, is there any supervisor wishing to comment on either of these 2 hearings? Both of these hearings will remain open through the remainder of our meeting, and then ask the question again if anyone wishes to comment on either hearing. At this time, I'd ask Ian if he would please introduce the proposed budget for 2022.
Sure. Thank you, Chairman. It's my pleasure to present to you again the tentative budget for the next fiscal year, which in this case is 2022. So I'll have a brief presentation right now, and then there'll be an opportunity for public comment. So every year the board reviews these. These look very similar each and every year. There's only a couple of changes. I'm not going to go through these line by line, but in particular, the first 2 and the last one are important to note for this particular budget cycle. The first is that we wanted to rebound from what were the budgetary and fiscal impacts of COVID-19 and the impact to our budget, to our sales tax, to any operations. We also wanted to, what I call, right-size and reset operations. We did have some furloughs. We did have some early retirement incentives. We did have some costs, I'd say curtailments back And so we were taking a look at, in this year's budget, what to keep there and what to change or alter and kind of move forward with some additional expense outlays that we had cut back before. The last one, not to overlook the other ones, but they're kind of fairly constant. They're there every year. We wanted to capitalize on one-time revenues, and the way we did capitalize on the one-time revenues is we didn't use the one-time revenues, which I'll explain the reasoning why in just a minute. Now we start with the public with a current status report of things that are going on. As you look to the 2022 year, your base year is the last year, the current year, so it's 2021. How are things going? Well, I'm pleased to report that we will not be operating in any sort of deficit, that if anything, we'll have a small surplus from activities associated with all of our departmental spending and expense reimbursements and grants. When it all totals up and all rolls up together, we will have a fine year, a good year financially in 2021. Sales tax, I will speak more specifically about, but that is in part why we're able to do what we're able to do this year. Sales tax is not only rebounded, but it's rebounded considerably, and it's far outpacing what our initial estimates were. The vaccine mandate is an issue for Livingston County. We have kind of two fronts on that challenge. The first is the nursing home and the public health department, and that was effective on September 23rd. We lost about 50 staffers at the nursing home, so that of course has a operational and budgetary impact. And then we have the other one looming, which is the OSHA mandate that PESH, which is the state affiliate, public sector affiliate, will maybe consider, but it's being tied up in the courts right now, so we'll see where that plays out. And of course, we got good fiscal stress scores from the Office of the State Comptroller. We got a good public sector audit opinion. And we are faced like any other employer, any other organization of the size of Livingston County with inflation pressure. So the cost of vehicles, we talked about last week and this week, the cost of supplies and goods, the wait time on some of that stuff. And the fact that we benefit per se from the sale of gasoline and its inflated price as a county government that collects sales tax, but we also pay for it with a county government that has so many vehicles on the road and services to provide. So a highlight statement, balanced budget. Of course, it has to be by law. It is a balanced budget, but there's also a tax cut and a rate reduction. There's a lot of spinmeisters in government, so there's a lot of people that will look at just the tax rate and say taxes are cut. You hear that each and every year across New York. You hear it across the United States. That to me is not necessarily a cutting taxes. The overall pool of dollars that you collect from property owners is your total taxes. If that is increased, that's a tax increase. If that's flattened, it's stabilized. And if that is cut, that's an actual reduction in taxes. This year, for the first time in some time, the county can say both of those things, that the rate is cut and the tax levy, the total amount of taxes we collect, is also cut slightly, but cut nonetheless. You can see there's the numbers that are played out up top. If your assessment, I'll go over that in a minute, but if your assessment stayed the same, your county tax bill is going to be going down. We have a slight assessed value. $32 million is not slight, but when we have a reval year next year, you're going to see why that looks slight compared to what we're going to look at next year. But we had an increase of $32 million. We're compliant with the tax cap. We have no major service changes or operational changes in the budget. And in particular, we have no reliance on the one-time ARP stimulus funds. Also not going to go over this in depth, but again, budgets at its elemental level is quite simple. It's all of these things on the one side, which are appropriations. How much we expect to spend this year. You then offset against that anything that you can get back. So grants, charges for services, fees, miscellaneous revenues, and of course for us, sales tax, which is about $40 million. And then whatever is left after that, across all your departments and functions, is your delta, your gap, and what you need to tax people for. So if you didn't have a gap, you wouldn't have any property tax. We have a gap, and that gap's $29.448 million. You can see it was less than last year. It's proposed, I should say, as being less than last year. So that average tax bill, there's an asterisk on that single-family home because that's pre-inflationary pressures, pre-market, so that's going to increase. But That used to be the average single-family home assessed value in the county, and the tax bill thus would have been about 1080. In this package proposal, depending on kind of where you are and such, it will be decreasing slightly. The tax levy, I already noted that. The all funds budget is a little under $170 million. And in particular, to emphasize this year, the CNR, which is the Center for Nursing and Rehabilitation, they're their own fund. They're an enterprise fund. So they sort of have revenue generation affiliated with who stays there. They have expenses for who staffs that facility. And that, again, that difference is either no difference, so all things are rosy. It's different to the tune of more revenues than expenses, then it's really rosy and you're kind of padding your surplus, or it's less, and in this case, this year it's less. So they're having to draw on and rely on reserves to get them through this somewhat stormy period, quite frankly. Sales tax, this year right now they're running about 25%. Outpacing last year's returns, but remember last year also had a dip midway through the year, so it's not necessarily an apples to apples, but it's up $4 or $5 million. We still have a swap going on with the state, so every single time you have a sales tax transaction, all that money gets sent to the state, and by law, half of it's supposed to come back to the county, half of it stays with the state. What the state is doing is before they send us our half that we're duly owed, they're lifting off the top of that a few dollars, and a few dollars is more than a few dollars. It's about $800,000. So that's a significant impact of the county. And of course, the gas prices and general inflation. Other budget drivers, we've got some kind of one-time COVID-related grants in there that drive up some stuff. Our health insurance, we're self-insured. That's a $13 million program. That did go up a little bit, so that has an impact. The two things at the bottom, EMS service expansion, we're growing by leaps and bounds the last couple of years in the area of emergency medical services, so that eventually will have a budget impact, and it does have a budget impact. And mental health forensic beds is just something to highlight. Last probably 4 or 5 years, we budgeted about $50,000 in that account, appropriately budgeting $50,000 in that account, because the spend's been 30 to 80 grand. The state used to help out with the expenses of that program. That program will be about $800,000 to $1 million this year in total spending. So not only did the cost of the beds go up, the utilization of the beds has gone up, and the state support has gone away. So it's that kind of three-tiered bad situation happening, and our budget has had an impact as a result. We continue to have state mandates. What I want the board and the public to know is a state budget is heavily reliant on their own one-time revenues, so that'll eventually come back to haunt them if they don't change their ways. So that's something to consider, because we had so much impact and interface to the state and the state budget. Medicaid has somewhat stabilized, but it still represents a significant chunk of our tax levy. And in addition, there's lots of money in the millions owed to Livingston County that is still awaiting further processing at the state. Nothing else really to highlight there. There are a lot of projects and initiatives that have either a small or a large budgetary impact to the county. Just a couple of sampling of things here, because budget's more than just numbers, and it's more than just people, and it's more than just your kind of traditional day-to-day services. Those are all great. Those are all in good form and in good shape. But you look at other projects that are kind of happening outside of that or in support of all those programs, and we got a lot of stuff cooking. So this is just a sampling of some of the things that we've got going on that have some relevance to the budget process. One thing, though, is we have the stimulus. We have $12.2 million that's been allocated directly to Livingston County. That'll come in two different tranches, 6.1, 6.1. We'll have to spend the first half to get the second half. And we're awaiting actions in VC to free up those dollars in terms of it being more flexible on how we are able to spend it. So we're kind of waiting on that. But again, 12.2 sitting there for the county to spend. This is the breakdown in the percentages of all the funds. Pretty self-explanatory. The general fund, just that. It's catch-all. It's general. Anything that's not in a separate fund is in the general fund. Capital improvements, which is still draft. The board separately adopts this. This is not adopted as part of the budget process, but just to highlight it like I do every year. That number of 18 million is usually between 10, 13 million, something like that. So it's definitely gone up. We have a lot of needs on the side of infrastructure, buildings, offices, upgrades, just all of these campus centers that we have and projects and equipment. So that's just a kind of a representative sampling of all that is being under consideration for funding for purposes of the 5-year CIP. And to sort of end the presentation, I do a little what's going well, what's good news, what's not so hot, and what's bad news, and kind of what's in between. 12.2, it's important to note that because there's lots of places, and this is not meant to disparage those places, but there's lots of places that are using and plugging in those dollars to offset what otherwise would be their budgetary impacts this year. We're not doing that in Livingston County. We don't really practice that methodology. So because we don't, we've got that able to spend on other identified needs that this board targets those funds for. It's a decrease in the tax rate and tax levy. There's lots of fanfare across the state about decreases in tax rates. Not a lot of people are actually decreasing the tax levy. So people are talking about their lowest tax rate in years and things of that nature, and that's fantastic and great, but they're not technically reducing taxes. This county budget does do that. The growth of internet sales tax is somewhere around 800% over the last 3 years as a category of income for the county, so that will continue to increase. Also, I'm very proud of the efforts on Light Up Livingston, which is countywide broadband. That's our ambitious goal. We're doing a lot of good work with small business development. Our reserves and our fund balance levels are strong, so in terms of going well, good news, that's really great news. Proportionally to size and population, I would say that we probably have the best, financial situation of any county in the state of New York, certainly upstate. And for the first time since I've been presenting this, I can say that all our CBAs are actually approved and in place as we embark upon our next fiscal year. So that's a great feeling to have, quite frankly. Stuff that's not so hot, that's on our radar. All is not, necessarily rosy. So we got that AIM swap, which is aid and incentives to municipalities. Again, the state had a 50-year obligation that they paid to towns, villages, and cities that they're now using county taxpayers, essentially, county revenues to supply those checks now. Labor market shifts in recruitment and retention, that's an issue that's going to have budget impact. It has operational impact right now. We joke around, if you're a business, you're better off putting a sign up front that says that you're not hiring, because the assumption is that you are, because everybody else has a sign up that they're hiring. We're, of course, hiring. You can go on our website and look, but recruitment and retention is a concern. Inflation's a concern. All the money that's being printed, per se, in relation to all of these federal packages that, again, from a technical perspective, Livingston County benefits from those packages. We got $12 million in stimulus money. We can advance projects in the infrastructure package, but economists on both sides of the political aisle are certainly concerned about the long-term and short-term impacts of inflation on the overall economy. The vaccine mandate fallout, we're not sure where that's going to go, but that certainly could kind of bleed into the budget. And TNR occupancy, we need to get occupancy up at the nursing home. We need to get staffing up, then that will get occupancy up, that'll get revenues up, and that'll allow for a sustainable operation at the nursing home. We have contingencies in place in the budget every single year. We have a strong fund balance position. We have a built-in contingency. We're still conservative. We've got reserves. We've got jail revenues that are able to still go to reserves because of how we kind of manage that operation over there, which is a testament to the ability to keep boarding in those federal inmates. And we have conservative expense forecasts with departments and department heads, and many of whom are in the room should be applauded for their efforts. The budget work is really, the easy part is this. Frankly, the hard part is actually staying within all of your allocations throughout the rest of the year. So I finish up here. The budget's balanced, no reliance on stimulus. The highlights are it's a decreased tax rate and a decreased tax levy. The cultural and nonprofit support, which I didn't spend a lot of time on, but it is supported and sustained and increased. So those are all our contracted kind of partners in the nonprofit space. And it continues our investments in capital and programmatic. I didn't read a lot of stuff on this. I kind of breezed through it, but this is one thing I would like to read, which is the county workforce should be commended for their commitment to excellence in public service. Our people are the frontline essential staff that make this government operate at a high level each and every day. So many of you are in the room, and please get that back to your departmental staff and thank them for all their efforts. The budget supports all their efforts. It's a good budget, it's a balanced budget, and I look forward to its consideration. So thank you.
Thank you, Ian. This time I'll open it up for any members of the public wishing to comment on our proposed budget for 2022. You have the opportunity to come forward to the podium, sign in, and address the attendants in the room. Any supervisors wishing to comment? Mr. Geneseo?
I would just like to thank Ian and the department heads for a great job. It's a great budget. I think everyone in this room should be proud of it. And like Ian said, if it wasn't for our workforce, it wouldn't be possible. So nice job, Ian. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other supervisors wishing to comment? This hearing, similar to the other two hearings, will remain open and be asking the question later in the meeting if anyone cares to comment on our proposed budget for 2022. Next, we have some communications, please, Michelle.
The next conversation with the county will be held on Tuesday, December 7th, 2021 at 7 p.m. at the Canisius Town Hall, 6210 South Livonia Road, Canisius. Receipt of lawful notice of liability in the matter of Tricia N. Severson served upon the Livingston County Sheriff. Receipt of notifications from the villages of Avon, Caledonia, Dansville, Geneseo, Leicester, Lima, Livonia, Mount Morris, and Nunde, requesting the county treasurer collect delinquent village taxes for the year 2021-2022. And County Administrator Ian Coyle filed the proposed 2022 Livingston County budget on November 1st, 2021.
Thank you. Next, we have abstract of claims for your consideration.
Mr. Pangrazio, approving abstract of claims 11A, November 10th, 2021.
Mr. Chairman, I move this abstract of claims and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Pangrazio. Does anybody at this time have any questions or discussion on this abstract of claims? Hearing none, I'll roll, please. Michelle?
Avon,
Aye.
Caledonia, Canisius,
Aye.
Geneseo,
Aye.
Groveland, Leicester, Lima,
Aye.
Livonia, Mount Morris, North Dansville,
Aye.
Nunde,
Aye.
Ashen, Portage,
Aye.
Sparta,
Aye.
Springwater, West Sparta, York. Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted.
Next, we have several resolutions on the preferred agenda.
Proclaiming the month of November as National Hospice Palliative Care Month. Appointing member to the Livingston County Youth Board, Michael Sesniak. Reappointing member to the Livingston County Board of Ethics, Sharon Deming. Reappointing members to the Livingston County Workplace Violence Prevention Committee, Phyllis Applin and Roger Eric Townsend. Declaring surplus property, Highway Department and Sheriff's Office. Resolution calling on the governor and the legislature to suspend any further state diversion of local sales tax for distressed health facilities and work to immediately sunset the law.
Thank you, Michelle. Is there any discussion of these resolutions that are on the preferred agenda? Hearing none, I look for a motion and a second to move this to a vote.
Move Wadsworth. Second Davis.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Roll, please, on this, Michelle.
Avon,
Aye.
Caledonia, Canisius,
Aye.
Geneseo,
Aye.
Groveland, Leicester, Lima,
Aye.
Livonia, Mount Morris, North Dansville,
Aye.
Nunde,
Aye.
Ashen, Portage,
Aye.
Sparta,
Aye.
Springwater, West Sparta,
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted.
Next, we're going to have some resolutions that require a separate roll call vote.
Mrs. Walker, authorizing the chairman of the Livingston County Board of Supervisors to sign the following contract for the Livingston County Center for Nursing and Rehabilitation, Highland Staffing LLC.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker. Is there any questions or discussion on this contract? Hearing none, the roll, please, Michelle.
Avon,
Aye.
Caledonia, Canisius,
Aye.
Geneseo,
Aye.
Groveland, Leicester, Lima,
Aye.
Livonia. Mount Morris. North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen. Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York. Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Authorizing the chairman of the Livingston County Board of Supervisors to sign the following contracts for the Livingston County Department of Health: Naverton Garage Door and Openers, New Horizons at Logical Operations, Seabreeze Pavement of New York LLC, and 1011 Group LLC.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker. Is there any questions or discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, will the roll please, Michelle?
Avon.
Aye.
Caledonia.
Aye.
Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia.
Aye.
Mount Morris. North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Mr. Knapp, awarding bid for elevator repair and maintenance, Livingston County buildings in Mount Morris and Geneseo, New York. Cone, Inc.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Knapp. Was there any questions or discussion on this bid? Hearing none, will the roll please, Michelle?
Avon.
Aye.
Caledonia. Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia.
Aye.
Mount Morris. North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York. Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Authorizing the chairman of the Livingston County Board of Supervisors to sign the following grant contract for the Livingston County Office of Emergency Management, New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Knapp. Is there any questions or discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon.
Aye.
Caledonia.
Aye.
Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia.
Aye.
Mount Morris.
Aye.
North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York. Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Authorizing the chairman of the Livingston County Board of Supervisors to sign the following contracts for the Livingston County Planning Department: CNS Engineers, Inc. and Cambridge Systematics, Inc.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Knapp. Is there any questions or discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon.
Aye.
Caledonia. Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia.
Aye.
Mount Morris. North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York. Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Authorizing the chairman of the Livingston County Board of Supervisors to sign the following grant award contract for the Livingston County Planning Department, New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Knapp. Is there any questions or discussion on this grant award contract? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon.
Aye.
Caledonia.
Aye.
Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia.
Aye.
Mount Morris. North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York. Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Authorizing the chairman of the Livingston County Board of Supervisors to sign the following contract for the Livingston County Sheriff's Office, New York State Governor's Traffic Safety Committee.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Knapp. Is there any questions or discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon.
Aye.
Caledonia.
Aye.
Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia. Mount Morris. North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York. Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Awarding bid for the Sheriff's Office horse trailer, Davis Trailer World LLC.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Knapp. Is there any questions or discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon.
Aye.
Caledonia. Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia. Mount Morris. North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater. West Sparta.
Aye.
York. Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Mr. Pangrazio, amending the 2021 Livingston County budget, Department of Health, Office for the Aging, and Sheriff's Office, there are 5.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Congrazio. Any questions or discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon.
Aye.
Caledonia. Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia. Mount Morris. North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Authorizing transfer of funds. County Administrator, Department of Health, there are 4. Emergency Management, Highway, there are 2. Office for the Aging, there are 2. And Sheriff's Office.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Congrazio. Any question or discussion on any of these transfer of funds? Hearing none, roll, Michelle.
Avon.
Aye.
Caledonia.
Aye.
Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia. Mount Morris. North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Authorizing the chairman of the Livingston County Board of Supervisors to sign the following contract for Livingston County. Napoli Schlonick, PLC.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Congrazio. Is there any questions or discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon.
Aye.
Caledonia. Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia.
Aye.
Mount Morris. North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York. Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Authorizing lease with the Arc Glow.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Congrazio. Is there any discussion on this lease? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon.
Aye.
Caledonia. Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia.
Aye.
Mount Morris.
Aye.
North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Approving apportionment of mortgage tax receipts for the period of April 1st, 2021 to September 30th, 2021.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Congrazio. Is there any questions or discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon.
Aye.
Caledonia. Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia. Mount Morris.
Aye.
North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Approving estimated 2022 sales tax distribution.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Congrazio. Is there any questions or discussion on this estimated sales tax distribution for next year? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon.
Aye.
Caledonia.
Aye.
Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia. Mount Morris.
Aye.
North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. providing for levy of erroneous taxes to be charged to towns.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Congrazio. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon.
Aye.
Caledonia. Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia. Mount Morris. North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York. Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Authorizing the chairman of the Livingston County Board of Supervisors to sign the following pilot agreement for Livingston County. New York State Solar 03 LLC, 3240 Westlake Road, Town of Geneseo.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Congrazio. Is there any discussion on this pilot agreement? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon.
Aye.
Caledonia. Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia. Mount Morris. North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York. Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Awarding bid and authorizing construction contract for bridge replacement project, County Bridge 18, Dow Road over Bidwell Creek, BIN 3316270, Town of York, New York State DOT PIN 4LV 0.03 for the Livingston County Highway Department. Crane Hogan Structural Systems, Inc.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Congrazio. Is there any questions on this resolution? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon.
Aye.
Caledonia. Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia. Mount Morris. North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York. Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Authorizing the purchase of 2 new 2021 Chevrolet Tahoes for the Livingston County Sheriff's Office. Deneuer Chevrolet, Inc.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Congrazio. Is there any questions or discussion on this purchase? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon. Caledonia.
Aye.
Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia. Mount Morris. North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York. Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Authorizing the purchase of 1 new 2022 Ford Transit van for the Livingston County Sheriff's Office, DeLacy Ford, Inc.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Congrazio. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon.
Aye.
Caledonia. Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia. Mount Morris.
Aye.
North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York. Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Amending the 2021 Livingston County salary schedule. Livingston County Center for Nursing and Rehabilitation, Department of Social Services, and District Attorney.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Congrazio. Is there any question or discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon. Caledonia. Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia.
Aye.
Mount Morris. North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York. Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Appointing the county attorney, Shannon L. Hillier.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Congrazio. Is there any discussion on this appointment? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon,
Aye.
Caledonia, Canisius,
Aye.
Geneseo,
Aye.
Groveland, Lester, Lima,
Aye.
Livonia,
Aye.
Mount Morris,
Aye.
North Dansville,
Aye.
Nunde,
Aye.
Ashen,
Aye.
Portage,
Aye.
Sparta,
Aye.
Springwater,
Aye.
West Sparta,
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted.
Congratulations, Shannon.
Establishing ratios for the year 2021.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Congrazio. Is there any question or discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon,
Aye.
Caledonia, Canisius,
Aye.
Geneseo,
Aye.
Groveland, Lester, Lima,
Aye.
Livonia,
Aye.
Mount Morris,
Aye.
North Dansville,
Aye.
Nunde,
Aye.
Ashen,
Aye.
Portage,
Aye.
Sparta,
Aye.
Springwater,
Aye.
West Sparta,
Aye.
York. Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Authorizing the Livingston County Director of Real Property Tax Services to add taxes on various 2022 town tax rolls.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Congrazio. Is there any questions or discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon,
Aye.
Caledonia, Canisius,
Aye.
Geneseo,
Aye.
Groveland, Lester, Lima,
Aye.
Livonia, Mount Morris, North Dansville,
Aye.
Nunde,
Aye.
Ashen,
Aye.
Portage,
Aye.
Sparta,
Aye.
Springwater,
Aye.
West Sparta,
Aye.
York. Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Authorizing assessment roll footings 2021.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Congrazio. Is there any questions or discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon,
Aye.
Caledonia, Canisius,
Aye.
Geneseo,
Aye.
Groveland, Lester, Lima,
Aye.
Livonia,
Aye.
Mount Morris, North Dansville,
Aye.
Nunde,
Aye.
Ashen,
Aye.
Portage,
Aye.
Sparta,
Aye.
Springwater,
Aye.
West Sparta,
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Authorizing the Livingston County Director of Real Property Tax Services to apply corrections for taxes on various 2022 town tax rolls.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Congrazio. Is there any questions or discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon,
Aye.
Caledonia, Canisius,
Aye.
Geneseo,
Aye.
Groveland, Lester, Lima,
Aye.
Livonia,
Aye.
Mount Morris,
Aye.
North Dansville,
Aye.
Nunde,
Aye.
Ashen, Portage,
Aye.
Sparta,
Aye.
Springwater,
Aye.
West Sparta,
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Directing the Livingston County Director of Real Property Tax Services to spread unpaid water charges and unpaid sewer charges on the 2022 tax rolls, Livingston County Water and Sewer Authority.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Congrazio. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon,
Aye.
Caledonia, Canisius,
Aye.
Geneseo,
Aye.
Groveland, Lester, Lima,
Aye.
Livonia, Mount Morris,
Aye.
North Dansville,
Aye.
Nunde,
Aye.
Ashen,
Aye.
Portage,
Aye.
Sparta,
Aye.
Springwater,
Aye.
West Sparta,
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted.
We do have 3 public hearings still open. I'll open it up to the public. Is there any member of the public wishing to comment on any of the 3 hearings that are open now? As I mentioned before, if so, come up to the podium and sign in. Ask the question again, is there any supervisors that wish to comment on the 3 hearings that we have open this time? Hearing none, consider these 3 hearings closed at this time, and we'll continue on with the resolutions associated with these hearings.
Mr. Knapp, adopting seeker negative declaration for 303B, additions to existing agricultural districts.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Knapp. Is there any questions or discussion on this seeker negative declaration? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon.
Aye.
Caledonia. Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia. Mount Morris. North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Approving 303B additions to existing agricultural districts.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Knapp. Is there any questions or discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon.
Aye.
Caledonia.
Aye.
Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia.
Aye.
Mount Morris. North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Adopting seeker negative declaration for the 8-year modification and renewal of agricultural district number 2.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Knapp. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon.
Aye.
Caledonia.
Aye.
Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia.
Aye.
Mount Morris.
Aye.
North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Approving 8-year modification and renewal of agricultural district number 2.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Knapp. Is there any questions or discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon.
Aye.
Caledonia. Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia. Mount Morris.
Aye.
North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Mr. Pangrazio, adopting budget for fiscal year 2022.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Grazio. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon.
Aye.
Caledonia. Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia.
Aye.
Mount Morris.
Aye.
North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted. Authorizing appropriations of 2022 adopted budget.
Mr. Chairman, I move this resolution and ask for unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Grazio. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, roll please, Michelle.
Avon.
Aye.
Caledonia. Canisius.
Aye.
Geneseo.
Aye.
Groveland. Lester. Lima.
Aye.
Livonia. Mount Morris.
Aye.
North Dansville.
Aye.
Nunde.
Aye.
Ashen.
Aye.
Portage.
Aye.
Sparta.
Aye.
Springwater.
Aye.
West Sparta.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Ayes 1888, absent 121, adopted.
Ian, do you have any updates to the board at this time?
No other updates, Chairman.
We'll mention a couple items. Michelle has the sign-up sheet for the sheriff tour of the training complex down on Route 408. And also Michelle has, if anyone is not signed, verifying your taking of the compliance, sexual harassment, and workplace violence requirements that we all have. She'd like to get that finished up. Does anyone else have any other business before the board this afternoon?
Move to adjourn, Pangrazio.
Second miss.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Meeting stands adjourned.